What if everything you thought you knew about Alzheimer's disease, the inevitability, the helplessness, was simply wrong? What if the trajectory toward cognitive decline could be intercepted, even reversed? In an insightful conversation with Dr. Dale Bredesen, a pioneering researcher and clinician in the field of neurodegenerative diseases, we unravel a transformative understanding of Alzheimer's and explore why so many unknowingly accelerate their brain's deterioration every day. What are the hidden factors we ignore, and how can we reclaim control over our brain health? Dr. Bredesen opens with a compelling revelation. Almost everyone knows a cancer survivor, but Alzheimer's survivors are seldom talked about, though they do exist. Contrary to popular belief, Alzheimer's isn't always a one-way descent. Many patients have not only halted cognitive decline, but sustained significant improvements for years with an integrative, multifaceted approach. He shares inspiring stories, including a woman who embarked on a coast-to-coast walk to raise awareness that cognitive decline is not irreversible. What if this radical hope could be your own story? Does knowing survivors exist alter how we think about our personal or family risks? This paradigm shift challenges the age-old resignation toward dementia as an untreatable fate. To grasp the new therapeutic approach, one must understand Alzheimer's progression as evolving through four distinct phases. Initially, the disease is silent at the asymptomatic stage, detectable only by sensitive biomarkers like phospho-tau in blood tests. This early phase can last undetected for years, followed by subjective cognitive impairment, where the individual senses memory slips but still tests normal cognitively. Mild cognitive impairment, the third phase, marks clear testable deficits without loss of daily functioning, and dementia arrives at the final, most severe stage. Dr. Bredesen emphasizes that waiting until dementia manifests drastically limits recovery potential, much like diagnosing cancer only after metastasis. Could earlier detection and treatment during subjective cognitive impairment or mild cognitive impairment reshape outcomes universally? Modern healthcare often waits for overt symptoms before intervening, but Dr. Bredesen draws compelling parallels with diabetes. Insulin resistance may simmer for a decade before clinical diagnosis. Similarly, cognitive decline develops subtly over years, yet medical practice frequently ignores interventions until late stages. Thanks to advances in blood-based biomarkers and neuroimaging, early identification is increasingly accessible. Tests measuring phospho-tau, amyloid ratios, GFAP, and neurofilament light chain can assess ongoing or incipient neurodegeneration. Isn't it time to rethink the wait-and-see approach? Rather than fearing early diagnosis, could knowledge be the power that motivates lifestyle changes and proactive strategies? One of the most discussed genetic contributors to Alzheimer's is the APOE gene, with its variants dramatically influencing lifetime risk. Individuals with no APOE4 copies face around a 9% lifetime risk, but a single copy raises this to 30%, and homozygous APOE4 carriers approach a staggering 90% chance of developing the disease. Dr. Bredesen challenges the fatalistic view surrounding genetics, arguing that knowledge is critical. If you know your genotype, proactive, personalized prevention and treatment can be implemented early to significantly reduce risk, even for APOE44 individuals who may already show symptoms. How might knowing this genetic information now empower someone to change their lifestyle or seek early intervention? Unlike simplistic one-cause, one-treatment models, Alzheimer's represents a complex network failure involving multiple interconnected factors. Dr. Bredesen's vivid analogy compares this to a roof riddled with 36 holes. Plugging only one leaks while the rest remain open is insufficient. He explains that treatment success depends on identifying and addressing enough of these holes to tip the balance back toward healthy brain function. Factors vary by individual, ranging from chronic infections and inflammation to toxins and metabolic issues. Could this systemic approach explain why single-drug treatments frequently fail and why personalized, multimodal interventions produce better results? To simplify the complex contributors, Dr. Bredesen categorizes them into three main groups: energetics, inflammation, and toxins. Energetics relate to blood flow, oxygenation, and mitochondrial health. Inflammation often arises from metabolic syndrome, chronic infections, or gut dysbiosis. Toxins encompass inorganic pollutants like air pollution, heavy metals, organic chemicals such as pesticides, and biotoxins like mold. Understanding these buckets underscores how modern environmental and lifestyle factors fuel cognitive decline. Are we inadvertently accelerating energetic deficits and inflammation through poor sleep, exposure to microplastics, and toxins? How might tackling these areas holistically restore brain resilience? Dr. Bredesen distills prevention and treatment into 7 basic pillars: plant-rich ketogenic diet, Ketolex 123, exercise, sleep, stress management, brain training, detoxification, and targeted supplementation. Each pillar supports neural connection and helps shift the brain from a defensive protection mode to a thriving connection mode. For example, his Ketolex 123 diet emphasizes metabolic flexibility, encouraging a mild state of ketosis with at least 12 hours between meals and avoidance of late-night eating to optimize brain cleansing via the glymphatic system. Exercise enhances blood flow and insulin sensitivity, while adequate sleep, 7+ hours with sufficient deep and REM phases, supports detox and neuronal repair. Could consistent adherence to these basics dramatically reduce cognitive decline risk across populations? While brain training is often touted as a universal solution, Dr. Bredesen adds important nuance. Stimulating a brain already under stress without adequate support can exacerbate decline. Thus, brain training and adjunctive neurostimulation techniques, such as red light therapy, sound therapies, and microcurrent, should follow nutritional and physiological optimization. Studies show brain training can even lead to observable neurochemical improvements, but selecting appropriate intensity and timing is crucial. How often do we overlook this sequence? Can premature or excessive stimulation stress an already vulnerable brain? Among the 2 specifics, beyond the 7 basics, Dr. Bredesen highlights infectious pathogens as major instigators of Alzheimer's pathology. Bacteria like P. gingivalis in gum disease, herpes viruses, and tick-borne illnesses trigger chronic neuroinflammation and amyloid deposition as a protective antimicrobial response. Moreover, excessive activation of immune cells and prolonged inflammation herald cognitive decline. Early identification and treatment of infections, long overlooked in mainstream neurology, could drastically alter disease progression. Could chronic infections be a missing link behind the stubborn persistence of Alzheimer's symptoms in some patients? The second specific area of focus involves environmental toxins spanning mold biotoxins, heavy metals such as mercury, pesticides, and the newly recognized threat of microplastics accumulating in brain tissue. Dr. Bredesen explains how amyloid precursor protein interacts with metals and toxins, connecting toxicity directly to Alzheimer's mechanisms. Reducing exposure is vital, but equally important is bolstering endogenous detox pathways through practices like infrared sauna, binders, gut optimization, and minimizing plastic use. Could modern pollution epidemics be silently eroding our cognitive health? How prepared are we to detoxify in an increasingly toxic world? Finally, Dr. Bredesen stresses the importance of regularly monitoring sensitive biomarkers. These blood tests can reveal subtle neurodegenerative changes years before symptoms arise. Tracking these biomarkers every 5 years, beginning at age 35, provides a window into brain health trajectory and stimulates earlier personalized intervention. Isn't it time cognitive health received the same proactive, data-driven attention as cardiovascular risk? How would your life change if you could look under the hood of your brain's health at any moment? Dr. Dale Bredesen's groundbreaking work shatters the notion that Alzheimer's is an unavoidable ruin tied inexorably to aging or genetics. With early detection tools, a holistic systems biology approach, and practical lifestyle prescriptions, there exist unprecedented opportunities to preserve, enhance, and restore brain function. Isn't it striking how so much of this aligns with well-established pillars of general wellness: plant-based nutrition, exercise, sleep, and stress control, amplified by novel science? This conversation invites us all to rethink Alzheimer's from inevitability to opportunity. Recognition, action, and empowerment might be the fastest paths away from decline. Where will you begin?